We're live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome to the October 5th, 2020 virtual meeting of council. We will start with our roll call. I'll just start by saying that Councillor Saucier is having some technical difficulties connecting, so hopefully she'll join us shortly. But I'll ask the other members of council to please announce yourself.
Michael Ternowski, présent.
André Brisson, présent.
Jamie Lauren here.
Perfect. Our greffier is here this evening.
Oui, Monsieur le maire. Joanne Camilleri-Laflamme, présente.
Parfait. Ça, un appel, c'est fait. 2 puis 3, prière, hymne national, on ne le fait pas. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. We have a few additions. Under items 18A, for Councillor Lorrain will be the Russell incident. Item B, Conseil Lorrain will be Route 200 and Edie Road intersection. Item C will be Russell Trails update. And Councillor Saucier had sent me item D, which was for the SNC art auction. Was there Monsieur Brisson or Monsieur Ternowski? Do you have anything to add? No?
I'm good, thank you.
We're good. Perfect. Then I'll move on to the next item, disclosure of pecuniary interest.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we need to adopt the agenda first.
Nah, I skipped this part. Sorry. Thank you.
It's okay.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Brisson, second by Conseiller Lorrain. Everyone in favor?
Mike Ternowski, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Perfect. Item is carried. So we'll go on. Item 6, déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire. Hearing, seeing none. Item 7, l'adoption des procès-verbaux. Adoption of minutes, special council minutes of September 14th, 2020, and the regular council minutes of September 21st, 2020. Motion to approve the following minutes as presented. Need a mover and a seconder. Just to remind those, if you're not.
That's what I did before. Put live line.
Oh, Cindy, we can hear you now.
It's an excuse.
No, c'est parfait. We now know that you're there, so thanks for being there. We're just right now, we're at item 7, and we're doing the adoption of the minutes. So yeah, special minutes of September 14th and the regular council minutes of September 1st. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ternowski, seconded by Councillor Saucier. Questions on these? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Mike Ternowski, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Oh, Cindy, your mic issue is back, but I see you nodding yes, so we're good. Thank you. Item 8, presentations, we have none. Item 9, délégation, il n'y en a pas. Item 10, consent items. Before I get into consent items, I'll just mention for members of the public watching that our question period is later on in the agenda. It's item 14, and it's questions on the meeting of the day. So your question has to be related to something that's on the agenda, but feel free to type in the question now, and when we get to item 14, we'll address it. And make sure that you write your name and your address, please, because it is a matter of public record. Alors, consent item, motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. Item A, the minutes of the Township of Russell Public Library Board meeting of August 13th, 2020. Item B, minutes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee of June 24th, 2020. And item C, minutes of the United Counties of Prescott and Russell, August 26th, 2020. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Ternowski. All those in favor? Yes, Councillor Ternowski?
Yes. Yeah, I'm just saying.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
And Councillor Saucier, that's a yes? Yes, perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll go into the next item, item 11.
Thinking. Okay, let's put the line in.
Oh, you seem to be working again, Councillor Saucier. So, rapport des départements, item A, 2021 first draft budget report FS 35 2020. That council receives report FS 35 2020 dated October 5th, 2020, and acknowledges for receipt of the first draft of the 2021 budget, which forecasts an overall tax increase of 1.5%, and that further discussions be held at the budget working day sessions on October 21st and 22nd, 2020. So this is just receiving it. We're going to get our hard copies in the next day or two. Do members of council have any comments at this point in time? Questions? No. Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, just wanted to see here that the that on top of the 1.5% that's being proposed, that there's also water and sewer increases.
Decreases, I believe.
Was it decrease? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I just happened to see that, so it's a decrease of that, which is fantastic. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Good to point. It's good to point out that that's the case starting out. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anything else, members of council?
C'est-tu le temps de poser des questions sur les variances de budget?
Non, ça va être la discussion budgétaire comme telle.
OK, c'est ça je pensais, mais c'est parce que j'avais une autre question dedans.
C'était juste pour voir s'il y avait un commentaire en général que tu voulais faire. Conseiller Ternowski?
J'aimerais juste demander pour la préparation de nos discussions si on pourrait s'assurer, puis je suis sûr que ça va être le cas, mais juste pour être sûr, c'est d'avoir l'information sur l'argent qui va dans les réserves, puis le pourcentage qui change d'un compte à l'autre comparé à l'année passée, like the percentage of going into reserves. I noticed there's a lot of variances between the departments, so just to have that explanation when we do meet.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Ternowski. Anything to add at this point in time, Monsieur Godin?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Bonsoir, chers du conseil. No, I mean, you've summarized it pretty well. Higher level, I mean, we're looking at a 1.5 tax increase, and like you said, we do have a decrease in water and sewer rates, a total of about $135 per year of decrease. We'll go into more line by line on the 21st and the 22nd of October, and yes, Councillor Ternowski, we can definitely have that information ready for you regarding the variances in our reserves. So no, at this point here, I mean, unfortunately, since it's virtual, I don't have a binder to hand over to you right now, but like I mentioned in an email, we will be sending those over this week, and as well, the first draft will be available on the website a bit later this week. So looking forward to having more discussions with council on October 21st.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Godin. Conseiller Brisson?
Yeah, just to know with those numbers, does that include the 2% raise for the salary for general? I know it was a trend that we were taking, so it was just to know that if that was included with the numbers that we have right now, because it was hard to see by department.
Monsieur Godin?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So at this point in time, the first draft of the budget includes a 1.5% payroll increase for the cost of living adjustment. So not 2%, but 1.5.
Okay, good info. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further comments, we'll move on to the next item. Item B, removal of part lock control, refers to bylaws under item 16. Properties known as 219, 219, 263, 265, 267, 268, 292, 294 Moisson Street in Embrun. Questions, members of council? This is pretty standard stuff. Anything to add from the department?
Just a question.
Conseiller Brisson?
I don't know if it's a mistake or because there's 219 and 219 repeat twice at the beginning in French. So was it 217 and 219 or 219, 221?
Question, on peut confirmer avant que le bylaw soit passé avec le département, Madame Camille-Laflamme. And
Oui, Madame Tremblay peut confirmer d'ici ce temps-là.
parfait, merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Je ne sais pas si c'est rien qu'en français ou si c'est le même en anglais. Mais je sais qu'en français, je vois cette erreur-là.
C'est
Oui.
en anglais aussi.
C'est, oui.
OK.
Alors, on va juste confirmer avant qu'on se rende à ce point-là. OK. Next item is...
Juste une autre question. À watcher aussi, parce que 2,67 et 2,68, ça ne devrait pas être ensemble aussi. Parce que c'est tous des nombres pareils, comme 2,63, 65, c'est des duplex. 92, 94, ça fait que 67, ça devrait être 69, ou au contraire, là, juste à vérifier l'avant-dernier aussi.
OK, merci beaucoup. Oui, ils vont clarifier ça.
67, 68.
OK. D'autres questions, commentaires?
No.
Move on to the next item. Item C, Building and Planning Department Semi-Annual Activity Report, Report PD 68-2020. The council receives the report PD 68-2020, dated October 5th, 2020. Questions, members of council? We can see from the report that they're still very busy for a pandemic, which is a good sign. Madame Tremblay, maybe you'd like to speak to this report?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so good evening. No, I think it's, as you can see, we were a bit worried at the beginning of the year because of COVID for the number of building permits issued, obviously because we didn't know at this point if we would be able to continue. But as you can see, I think people have a lot of time on their hand and they're still developing, and we're still issuing building permits. As you can see in the last table, we're only 48 permits away from the same amount of period of time from last year, which is pretty good, and it's been better from last year, from July to now. So we expect that the number of building permits would be approximately the same as 2019. So we're busy, and it's good to see even in the situation that we're in.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay. Questions, members of council? No? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item D, modification au règlement sur la circulation et le stationnement, rapport PIC 09A 2020, afin d'ajouter une zone d'interdiction de stationner sur le côté de l'avenue Twilight, entre le boulevard Central Park et la rue Azur, et du côté sud du boulevard Central Park du chemin Nord Russell à la rue Azur à Russell. Que le conseil reçoit le rapport PIC 09A 2020, daté du 5 octobre 2020, et approuve, tel que recommandé dans ce rapport, le règlement proposé pour modifier le règlement sur la circulation et le stationnement 31-2004, afin d'ajouter une zone d'interdiction de stationner sur le côté est de l'avenue Twilight, entre le boulevard Central Park et la rue Azur, à Russell, et du côté sud du boulevard Central Park, au chemin Nord Russell, à la rue Azur, à Russell. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Lorraine and Councillor Tarnowski.
So my question is, and this may preclude the topic at 18C, I believe, but if I read correctly in the report, is that we do have jurisdiction to pass things on those roads, considering they are considered highways under jurisdiction. So my question is then, can we get signs on Junction Street that say no construction traffic to reroute the actual traffic? So because it's in this report, I just wanted to see if it's the same thing that we're talking about, so we don't have to come back to the report.
Okay, thank you, Conseiller Lorrain. Madame Bourdeau, Monsieur Bourgon, somebody's going to take this one?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Good evening. Yes, it's Monsieur Laurent. Yes, it seems like we can enforce any bylaw. So the other thing is that developers have the responsibility in their agreement to dedicate a certain street for construction traffic. So that being said, we did speak to the developer. We asked the developer to identify which streets were going to be used for heavy, construction traffic, and that it's his responsibility to post signs. And we did show him a photograph of a sign provided by Monsieur Brisson. So it's getting done. I don't know if it's done right now, but it's getting done.
Okay, if you do speak to them, can council get a notification once they are up or they've been bought or whatever, that the developer can let us know somehow, some way, other than me driving down the street, just so that
I can
the residents that contact me.
forward an email to council if that's the wish of this
Perfect.
council.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tarnowski?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question that when we saw the original pictures of some of the cars parked on the sides of the street, I just want to know ahead of time, are we going to be getting feedback from residents that they don't have enough parking now? And is that been kind of discussed, and what's the plan of action if there isn't enough parking available?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Tarnowski. I think it's the responsibility of the homeowner when they buy the home that they get a house that has enough parking. But Madame Tremblay, I believe through the Planning Act and through our zoning and official plan, normally the household should have significant parking to address the size of the property. Is that correct?
Yeah, true, Mr. Mayor. The responsibility is the owner of the house. We have to, when a builder is coming to the planning department to build for a townhouse, they need to provide 2 parking spaces. So that's our mandate, is to make sure that they provide enough space as per our zoning. Then after that, they're responsible to park where parking is permitted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Conseiller Brisson?
Yeah, but I've noticed in Russell, where's there's the road, I don't remember if it's Azure or what. It's the one that we had last meeting, that whenever it's townhouse, often there's even apartment downstairs, and then it makes even more cars in. So even 2 cars is not really enough. So maybe it should be something that it's planned whenever whether it's only on one side of the road that there's townhouse that much, or having a parking space for all the residents at the end of those streets. Because whenever you arrive in that project, you look at your left, and it's all individual houses, and there's no car on the side. And you look at the right, where's the townhouse, and it's just full on both sides. So even if we say they cannot park, but they have to find a place for those cars, and there's not much other parking. So it's just that it should be something that should be addressed, to have some parking spots somewhere that they can go and to take in consideration.
Thank you very much, Conseiller Brisson. Well, I think that yeah, Madame Tremblay, that's addressed when they apply for apartments in the houses.
Yeah, so that's why it's important to get a permit when you add an apartment. As soon as they get for an apartment, they need to provide an extra parking space. So if they don't have that extra parking space, the permit will not be issued to have the apartment. So technically, if it's a single detached dwelling, they need to provide 1 parking space plus the apartment is a second, and a townhouse is 2 plus 1. If they have an apartment, that means 3. So you rarely see apartments into townhouse because of that issue, that they don't have enough, the 3rd parking space is not provided on site, so therefore we don't issue building permits. So I don't want members of council to think that we don't check. We do check most of the time. If there's not enough parking spaces, because the apartment is illegal, but when the apartment is legal, then they have to provide the number of parking space as per the type of unit that is being built.
Okay, thank you very much.
I would just like to add something also.
Oui, vas-y, Madame Bourdon.
They would be in the same situation since winter's coming around the corner and there's no parking on the street in the winter. So I've been there myself on a few occasions in between the two council meetings, and I've noticed that a lot of cars are on the road and there's not a lot of cars in the driveways. I also noticed that most garages are used for a shed. So most likely some people will have to get a shed or clean their garage to park their cars on their property, unfortunately. But that's, they still can park on one side of the street with this bylaw. They just can't park.
Yeah, on both sides. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. And that's also something when we do our official plan and zoning bylaws, when we, if council feels at that time they want to address and increase parking requirements, that's the time that we need to do it at that point. So, Councillor Saucier?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, no, I was just saying, but that bylaw, like parking in the winter is only for overnight, is it not? People may still park on the street in the winter, right?
Madame Bourdon?
Yes, people can still park on the street during the daytime, but what I've seen when I go by is there's no cars there during the day, during the week. They're all there at night.
Okay.
It's just people are choosing to park on the street for some reason as opposed to their driveway.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. If there's no further questions on this item, we'll move on to the next one. Item E, Public Safety and Enforcement Semi-Annual Activity Report, Report PIC 11-2020. The council receives Report PIC 11-2020 dated October 5th, 2020. Quick questions, members of council on this file? If not, I'll let Madame Bordeaux gives us some highlights if she wishes.
Yes, well, as you can see, the calls, the amount of calls we're getting keeps on increasing yearly. I guess that goes with our population. The last time you also asked for an occurrence count summary, which was provided this time. So it gives you the stats on every occurrence that we do and how many occurrences we get of each type. You can see this year COVID-19 was up to now was 535 occurrences just on COVID-19. So that's one of the reasons why the increase. It's also population, but there's also the increase due to this event.
Okay, thank you very much. And obviously we're tracking all the COVID related stuff. Monsieur Godin, this is part of the calculations to try and get some money out of the province.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect. Since we're dealing with, most of the rules aren't municipal rules, or either the Eastern Ontario Health Unit or the province that are putting these rules in place, and unfortunately we're the ones who are delegated to try and deal with them. So thank you very much for the report, very detailed report, Madame Bordeaux, and thank you very much to your staff, because we know that it can be challenging dealing with people in this during this pandemic. Everybody's nerves are on heightened alert, and we appreciate the professionalism everybody's going through. Any questions, members of council? If not, we'll move on to the next report. Item F, amendment to the traffic and parking bylaw report PIC 12-2020 to amend the no stopping signs on both sides of Concession Street south of Mother Teresa School to reflect the school bus hours. The council receives report PIC 12-2020 dated October 5th, 2020, and approves as recommended in this report the proposed bylaw amendment to traffic and parking bylaw 31-2004 to amend the no stopping signs along the east and west side of Concession Street near the New York Central Fitness Trail by changing the hours to reflect new school hours. Pretty standard stuff, straightforward. Questions, members of council? No? Anything to add from the administration?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Parfait. We'll move on to the next item. Item G, rapport d'activité semestrielle du rapport du département de développement économique, rapport EcoDev 07-2020, que le conseil reçoit le rapport EcoDev 07-2020 daté du 5 octobre 2020. Questions, members of council on the EcoDev, Councillor Tarnowski and then Councillor Saucier.
So I just wanted to congratulate the department on the pop-up patio program. It was a great initiative and really happy to see how quickly we were able to pivot around that and to help out our local businesses. So I think it's something we should all be very proud of. So that was very good. The other aspect that I think we will be addressing is that bus service with 3 to 7 passengers. Hopefully we can address that.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Tarnowski. Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, I just noticed that you had put something somewhere about the local flavors. Are you planning on eliminating that event? And you sort of had something about looking for ideas of something to replace it. Because I know we had discussed like trade shows, and I also realized that's impossible this year. But what were you planning on eliminating that event because it was so successful?
Madame Tremblay.
No, we were talking about probably having it every second year. And the year that we were not holding the local flavor rendezvous, we would have prepare a trade show or something like that, or a farmer's market, or have another type of event the year that we would not held the rendezvous des saveurs locales.
Okay, merci.
Perfect. Well, we're skipping this year, so next year you're
that's for sure.
Madame Tremblay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to come back to Mr. Tarnowski for the comments of the pop-up patio. I think it was well received as well from the business community, and it's something that we will hopefully bring back every year. So we visited some municipality on the Quebec side, especially in Saint-Sauveur and stuff like that, and they do that program, COVID or not COVID. So it's something that we will present to council next year to have that program come back every year.
Okay, thank you very much. D'autres questions, membre du conseil? Okay, if there's
I'm sorry, can I add something else?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I just want to mention as well that we were really involved with the business community throughout COVID, and as you can see in the completed project, we've posted a lot of shop local campaigns. We had a positive sign for shop window for Mother's Day, Father's Day. We also had in the newspaper, and we were really involved with the community, and I think they appreciated, and they knew where to ask questions if they had questions about what would happen with their businesses. So I'm really proud of saying that we're getting involved, and they know where to reach when they have information to seek. So it's something that we should be proud of, and I think we're establishing that link, and they know where to turn. So it's really good to see.
Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay, and congratulations on the good work. Keep it up for you and the team. Next item is item 12, reports from an investigator and ombudsman. We have none. Item 13, we have none. Item 14, question period on meeting of the day. So I'll ask if anybody has questions to please type in your question. We'll give it a minute for questions to come in. Make sure you write your name and your address for the public record. We do have one question that has come in. Mr. Harry Baker, 208 Forest Road, draft budget. Why is there nothing in line 781 for the Keith M. Boyd Museum? Monsieur Godin, we don't have the full draft budget out yet. There was only a couple pages in this report, but do you have a comment for Mr. Baker?
Yes, so through Mr. Mayor. So yeah, like you said, we haven't handed in the line-by-line budget yet. I'm assuming that Mr. Baker is referring to Schedule E, which is specifically the variances of over $5,000. So if there's nothing beside the 781 for Keith M. Boyd Museum, that's because that section of the budget is probably similar to last year's with no variances of over $5,000.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Monsieur Godin. I'll just publish that. I'll give it another few seconds here to see if anybody else has questions. There's always a delay between the actual meeting and what's being thrown out to the public, so we'll wait to see if anything comes in. Well, nothing else is coming in, therefore we'll move to the next item, which is item 15, resolutions. So the first item in resolutions is item A, is a notice of motion by Councillor Cindy Saucier on the Council Code of Conduct. So moved by Councillor Saucier, seconded by Conseil Brisson. Whereas Section 8C of the Code of Conduct Bylaw 2019-021 states, the mayor shall be the official spokesperson for the township. If the mayor is not available, then the acting mayor and/or CAO shall assume that role. And that nothing in this section or policy prevents any member of council to submit a motion to reconsider as per our procedural bylaw if he/she wishes to contest any decision of council. And whereas the councillors were voted in by the constituents and should be able to receive and respond to correspondence when they addressed to both mayor and councillors, and spokesperson does not mean the mayor can only reply. Therefore, be it resolved that the councillors may respond to correspondence that they receive as long as they are not stating it is the sentiment of all other council members. So we have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Saucier, did you want to speak to this notice of motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. The only, you know, I didn't want to open up the whole thing. It was just that one issue where I wanted clarity. You know, if we receive correspondence, unless of course it's something special, for instance, like what just happened in the past week where you issued a statement and, you know, I felt that was sufficed and would satisfy the public and we didn't all need to respond. So that was, you know, there's kind of that gray area, but I just, the main concern I had is when something was addressed to all of us, that I felt it was my responsibility as an elected official to answer the letter or answer the concern of the resident. And like I said, as long as I didn't say, well, this is how everybody feels or something like that, or speak on behalf of my colleagues and you, Mr. Mayor. So that was why I brought it forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Saucier. Question, members of council, Councillor Tarnowski.
So it's my understanding, and when we went through this, I also went through all the code of conduct and all the information just to be sure. And so I just want to clarify. It sounds like Councillor Saucier is looking for that clarification that we are not breaking the code of conduct in doing those types of responses. So I went through with it with a fine-tooth comb, and I don't see where that would be an issue in responding to residents. And so I agree that we should have that clarification if we can get that. I don't think we need to open the code of conduct for that. We just need it clarified.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Tarnowski. So, Conseil Lorrain, go ahead.
So my question then is twofold. One, is the code of conduct on the table for, that's I guess from the clerk to respond? And if it is, then is there a alteration or a change to the code of conduct that's being suggested here or recommended here? Okay. Because clarity to one is not clarity in the code. So I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. So 2 questions.
Thank you. So the first one in regards to clarity, there's I agree with Councillor Tarnowski, and this was part of the discussion we had in the previous, is that there is nothing in this section that says members of council cannot answer an email. And I don't see in this notice of motion that there's asking to change anything specifically in the code of conduct. There's no section being mentioned that we need to reword or change. So the question is not in regards to can councillors answer emails. It is more as that when all members of council are on an email, we have quorum. And if we start responding, are we advancing the business of the corporation through email? Because we talk in our code of conduct about transparency and so forth. So any discussions that are happening by email are not being done in public and therefore not transparent. So as I explained to Councillor Saucier in an email, when an email comes into all members of council, it has been tradition that the mayor, or it has been in the past since I've been on council, where the mayor answers for the group. If a member of council wishes to email that person on a one-by-one basis, you're more than welcome. But if you start copying all members of council, then you risk the chance of advancing the business of the corporation. Then because you can get into a back and forth with the residents, point, counterpoint, and so forth, which is inevitably could advance the business. So, Madame Camré-Laflamme, in regards to Councillor Lorrain's question, this notice of motion really is not asking the code of conduct to be reopened, in my opinion. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, from my opinion also, it doesn't give me any direction to bring back anything in particular to change a word, a sentence, a paragraph. So I don't know, it's not enough for me to proceed to make a change with this recommendation as it is. Right.
So, okay. Does that answer your first question, Conseiller Lorrain?
Well, it says be it resolved that the councillors may respond to correspondence that they receive as long as they are not stating it is the sentiment of all other council members. It doesn't state here that you can't copy all members of council. It doesn't state here that you need to do it all by yourself. So I still think that if that's the wording or the want of this notice of motion, then the notice of motion is asking for something to be changed in the code of conduct. And if we haven't opened the code of conduct, then we can't make that change. So right. I don't think just by saying, well, you can do it by yourself, but don't copy everybody is enough for everybody. I think it has to be put into the code of conduct. And if the code of conduct's not open, then we can't do that.
Right. So I think clarity is needed. I think it's just the wording of the notice of motion, because the notice of motion isn't actually asking for any specific change to the code of conduct. I think that's where the issue is here. It's just the way the notice of motion was worded, because it's not giving specific direction on anything. Councillor Tarnowski?
My only thoughts on that again is that I don't know that we need to open the code of conduct, because the way the code of conduct is written, it allows us to individually email constituents. So why change it to get this? Like, this is what I think what we're doing is seeking, like, is just confirmation that it can be done, which the assumption was that it could be done already. So I'm not sure that we need to reopen it. That's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, okay, so I've been getting conflicting information. I think that's why I brought this forward, is because, it actually was mentioned to me that I shouldn't be responding to people's emails, and that it might make me or others not look as good because they didn't respond. So I feel if I want to respond to an email that is addressed and I see my name on the top, Cindy Saucier, then I should be able to respond to that letter. And right. So there has been some issue there. So that's the clarity I'm looking for in, and like I said, and I agree with Councillor Tarnowski, in the code of conduct, nowhere does it say that only the mayor can answer. So that's where that's why I brought this forward. And
right. So to clarify, it is correct. There is nowhere in this code of conduct that says I'm the only one that should answer. What I'm stating is that we have a duty to abide by the rules of quorum, and we cannot advance the business of the corporation. So it has been tradition for the mayor to answer when it's addressed to us all. again, if members of council are comfortable with that, or if you're looking for a change and that's not what you're looking for, and you want us to all start responding to people individually, I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, I just don't want 5 emails coming in that could potentially be giving the wrong messaging to a resident, whereas all of a sudden it's getting all confusing for the resident and it doesn't look like we know what we're doing, or that we start discussing things by email that should be discussed in public. That is my concern. So nowhere does it say it's only the mayor who responds, but it just has been the way we've been doing it for the last few years. Councillor Laurent.
Then, in my opinion, then the code of conduct needs to be open so that we can actually make it crystal clear on who can respond and who can't. Because right now, I read it differently than everybody else. I read it as though you are the official spokesperson of the township, and if something comes in addressed to all of us, that you are to respond. And I haven't been responding because of that. Others have been responding and copying everybody on the email, and it's not clear. So to me, the code of conduct needs to be opened and it needs to be clarified. Otherwise, you're going to get exactly what you just said. Everybody sending everything out, because I can tell you right now, if that's the case and this doesn't get reopened and not and updated, then I will be responding to everything just like you, just like Councillor Associate and just like Councillor Brisson.
Okay, thank you for your comment. So essentially what we're looking for is to have a section in the code of conduct on what the email etiquette is for members of council. Is that my understanding? Is that what you're looking for, Councillor Associate?
No, I'm not looking for that at all. I'm just looking for that I am able to respond to an email. And if others choose not to do so, that's up to them. But if I feel like responding to correspondence that has my name on it, I think I should be able to. And like I said, I'm not going to say speak on behalf of anyone else. But you know, if they're seeking out the people they voted in. And so that's why I said before why I want to be able to respond. And also I'm in the past, so like Councillor Laurent said, maybe we need to clarify this again, is I remember being told to make sure I copied everyone, including the CEO. And then when I did, then I was told that I was, you know, possibly in conflict, or that we're having a meeting then. So, you know, I just was doing it so people could see what I was saying. You know, so it was again above board. So
unfortunately, when you're doing it by email, it is not above board because only certain people see it and the public in general don't see it, right? And that's not transparency, and that's
right. No, I understand the meeting, the quorum thing. So I won't copy anybody anymore. Maybe just copy you, Mr. Mayor, or copy the CEO or something like that when I respond. So if that works, then that's all I'm looking for.
Okay, but we need clarification. As Monsieur Councillor Laurent said, he interprets it different. Monsieur Brisson hasn't had a chance yet, so we'll let Monsieur Brisson go and then Councillor Laurent.
I'm just not sure if we have to reopen all the code of conduct just to clarify how to answer to that particular item, just so that we're aware of, because as Councillor Associate was saying, at first I thought that we were able to answer to all whenever it was addressed to all of us. I was quite sure that we were just told to address it to CCs, all the others, and now you're saying that it should be just by ourselves. So it's just something to make clear that I have no problem to have it just by myself, but to have it clear out. And do we have to open up the code of conduct to add this clarification or not?
So, thank you, Conseil Brisson. So to address your comment, as we stated at the last meeting that we had this discussion, when we spoke about copying all members of council, this is when an issue would come up where one individual councilor was emailed on a subject, and that councilor felt that it was something that possibly the person either emailed all individually, or that the council member felt that it's something all of council should be aware. He would, we copy, we CC everybody. For example, a resident says, I have a problem on this street, this is the problem, councilor or mayor would respond and say, thank you very much. I've copied all members of council so they're aware of the problem and the administration. And, we've put it into their hands. And that way, if a member of council saw it and says, well, I want to bring this up to the council table, then they have the opportunity to do so. It was just at information purposes, but there was no dialogue going back and forth. Conseiller Lorrain?
Sorry, that was one of the things I was going to mention. The fact that, because it keeps being brought up that I said that we needed to do this, and the fact is that what I said, and I thought we were pretty clear about it, was if I received an email directly to me, nobody else was copied on it, and I was responding to somebody, that I copied all members of council so you knew what the situation was and how I responded. That is totally different than if we get an email from a resident that says, dear council members, or dear mayor and councilors, and everyone is on the same email. Two different situations. Okay, that's where the copying of the thing came in when it was individual. Now that it's a group, my understanding was that the mayor was the one who responded, and that we couldn't respond, or that we shouldn't respond based on the code of conduct. So I'm still not clear as to what the notice of motion is then. If it's not a request to make a change or a correction to the code of conduct to allow or alter the information of allowing everyone to respond one way or another. Because to me, it this didn't do anything. So I'm asking why we have a notice of motion that's not doing anything.
There's no clear direction in the notice of motion, is what you're saying.
Correct. Well, there's no request, and normally the notice of motion comes with recommendations to change something, or to alter something, or to add something that's not there today. And I would have thought that there would have been information as to section 8C, adding that council members are allowed to respond to the emailer themselves and not copy council.
Okay.
Something to that effect. If that's the case, then we need to open up the code of conduct. And if we don't open up the code of conduct, then you can't make that request. That's why I was asking right from the beginning if the code of conduct was open. And the clerk seems to believe that it is not open, so I can't even make an amendment to this notice of motion.
Just to clarify, and Madame Camelet-Laflamme, correct me if I'm wrong, the procedural bylaw needs to give notice for possible changes, but does the code of conduct need to give notice?
No, Mr. Mayor, it doesn't.
So if there's a change to make to the code of conduct, it could be done this evening. Amendments can be brought forward.
They could bring amendments, and then we bring back the amendment by bylaw to be adopted at the next meeting, yes.
Okay. So, see, I needed to know if it's on the table, because
it's not.
I have changes that I would like made to the policy, but I can't bring them up if it's not on the table because I was on the other side of the vote.
So just maybe Madame Camelet-Laflamme, you can, in regards to the situation for Conseiller Lorrain, it's not a matter of opening it up or not. It's a matter of if he wants to make amendments or additions to the code of conduct, that stuff that wasn't voted on before, he's more than free to do that, correct? because it wouldn't have been something that had been voted on if it's new. If it's something that's in there that you don't like, that we've already voted on, yes, definitely somebody else. My comprehension is somebody else would have to bring that. So
that's why I'm asking, is it on the table with this notice of motion? And if it is, then I would request to bring some items back. Now, I'm not going to do it tonight because I would prefer that Monsieur Leduc have an opportunity to hear the comments before bringing them into bylaw. But I need to know if it's open, because if it's not open, I'm not going to go through it all and go through all these changes that I can't recommend. I will propose changes to the wording then for this one, if that's clear to everybody. But if not, then obviously it's not going to make a difference.
Right.
Because no one seems to think that there's a problem with it, but I do.
Okay. Councillor Saucier?
Well, I'm okay with making the amendment to the, and that it just add that the members, if addressed to members of council, that they can respond. That you're the spokesman for the township, but if we get a letter addressed to us, that we can respond. So add that in, please. Okay. I thought this was my notice of motion, but anyway.
Well, unfortunately, it's not clear as to exactly what you haven't proposed any actual change to the wording in the procedural bylaw. And as Councillor Ternosky brought up, there's nothing excluding you in the procedural bylaw, in his opinion. My opinion is the same thing, from responding. So
okay, as long as that's clear, then I'm okay with it. But I just wanted to, because I like I said, I've been told one thing one time and something else another time. So I want to make sure, because I've been through the code of conduct process, I want to make sure that I'm not going to be in an infraction. So I will not copy people on my response. I'll copy one person and then respond to the letters that I get. So I'm clear now. Thank you.
Councillor Lorraine, you see it differently.
Well, I'd like to know where it says then I can't copy all members of council. Right? Either you're the official spokesperson or you're not.
I'm the official spokesperson, but by the rules of the Municipal Act, we can't advance business of the corporation through email, through quorum. And having a discussion via email potentially can impact a discussion. And that's where we have to be tricky. It's a fine line.
So then if somebody emails off to a resident and they copy one person of council, then that one person of council is receiving information that no one else is getting. Correct?
Potentially, that's exactly like when two members of council have a discussion to bring forward a notice of motion that nobody knows about until that very night. Right? That's what happens when we have a council of 5. Conseil Tarnowski.
So in other words, status quo in the way it is somewhat vague, we agree. But if there is an issue where one of us is advancing the business of the corporation by engaging in dialogue with all of us connected, there is a danger for one of us to be breaching the code of conduct. As long as we all understand that, then I don't know what the issue is, because I understand what Councillor Lorraine is saying, and I sympathize with that. But at the same time, it's like some of the bylaws. There's always going to be a little bit of vagueness where you can, there's going to be different ways of looking at it. We're going through that when we go through bylaws. I mean, at the end of the day, we are responsible to meet the code of conduct, and if we are breaching the code of conduct, it's our responsibility to deal with it.
Okay. Well, we have a notice of motion on the table. Unless there's amendments or motions to move it forward, withdraw it, whatever the case is, defer it. I'll leave it up to the mover and the seconder. Conseil Brisson? Did you have something to say?
I was just looking at the motion, and it was just to clarify, and I think it says therefore is, and I think it just clarify, and I know that usually for myself, anyways, it's kind of la politesse to let the mayor answer first, and then you can answer after because you're in the email, but I have no problem. It's been clarified now that it has to be only one that we don't CC's the other. And I think that's what it was, just clarifying that it was not only the mayor that can answer to email. That's why I see no problem with that motion at all. And that it just clarified, and then we go on as it is.
I think the issue though is that a notice of motion is something that we vote on. And right now, there's no changing being proposed. You're looking for clarification. In my opinion, that clarification could as easily come up saying under council member items saying, I need clarification on this point. Can we have this discussion? I think that would have been the appropriate place. Or if you bring a notice of motion to the table, it has to be something concrete that council can vote on to say, okay, yes, we're making this change to our code of conduct, or no, we're not making a change. But this was a clarification. You were looking for clarification on this point. Councillor Saucier?
Yeah, well, my last paragraph, I think, sums it up. Be it resolved that councillors may respond to correspondence that they receive as long as they're not stating it's the sentiment of other council members. So that's the change.
Well, that's a statement. That's not a change in our code of conduct. You're not making changes to anything. You're making a statement.
Well, like I said, it says the mayor's the spokesperson, but it does not say anywhere that we cannot respond. But this is what's been indicated
for
to
clarification. Me. That's what you're asking for, is for clarification. You're not looking to change the code of conduct.
Well, you can add that in and just add that paragraph that all council members can respond. And I've never engaged in communication back and forth when I've copied other people on emails. You know, I don't do that.
Well, we've had lots of discussion. Councillor Tarnowski, we have a notice of motion on the table to vote on. So if there's no specific change, then we can just call for the vote. But Councillor Tarnowski, did you have something else to add? Or Conseiller Lorrain?
Well, I don't know what I'm saying yes or no to.
Well, based on
I don't know how we can vote on something that we don't know what we're saying yes or no to.
It's very easy to say no.
Exactly. If it's not clear for me, I'll just be voting no. That's my opinion. So.
Well, there's not asking for anything.
I don't know what to tell you. So we have the notice of motion on the table, so I'll just call for the vote. So all those in favor?
Mike Tarnowski, no.
André, oui.
I'm going to say no because I have no idea what I'm voting on.
Councillor Saucier?
Yes.
I vote no. Notice of motion is defeated. We'll move on to the next notice of motion. Sorry, just got to find my papers. Notice of motion, Councillor Cindy Saucier, Jonathan Pitre. Moved by Cindy Saucier, seconded by Mark Tarnowski. Whereas Jonathan Pitt was a resident of Russell and a student at the Emblem Catholic High School. And whereas Jonathan Pitt was known as the Butterfly Child due to his disease EB, and he became ambassador for Deborah Canada, raising awareness and funds for research, and unfortunately passed April 4th, 2018. And that we would like to acknowledge Jonathan and his beloved dog Gibson by naming the Emblem Dog Park the Jonathan Petrie and Gibson Dog Park. Therefore, be it resolved that council supports this initiative to honor this incredible young man and his dog. So, mover and a seconder, Councillor Saucier, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, I would. I had the discussion with Jonathan's mother, and she was overjoyed by this, and she was in favor of it. And I thought it was a simple thing that we could do now that wouldn't be extremely costly. And it was a way, you know, his dog was really a service dog to Jonathan. And I just thought it would be a nice thing. It'll be 3 years since he passed in April. And I know we had other ideas and things on the table, but my understanding is that some of these are still, you know, we didn't get the grant money for the accessibility park. Some of these things are a long way off. And then even if we decide to have something at another time, we could have a, you know, another dedication of some kind. For instance, in Russell, we have the Keith Boyd Museum and we have Keith Boyd Park. So I think it's something that's feasible to do, and I would like to see this supported by council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Associate. Other questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Tarnowski, go ahead.
Sorry. So I love the fact that we're wanting to do something, and that's why I wanted to support Councillor Saucier on this. It has been 3 years, and time is going by, and I think it's something that we need to do. And I do understand that that we had discussed other options in the past, but they seem to be far away. If there was something that could kind of be put on the table, and that was perhaps, you know, if this is not deemed appropriate or something else, I think the dog park idea is a good one. But I'm happy to discuss it right now. But I think that this is nice that we're moving forward with something at this stage, 3 years later.
Okay, thank you very much. Other comments, members of council? I'll add. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Larrain.
You can go ahead. I'll see what you say and I'll jump on that one.
Okay, comforting. So I have been in contact with Jonathan's mom as well. I let her know that had been tossing around the idea of an accessible park, of perhaps a rink being named after him. She would be honored with whatever council chose. I'll be honest, I think that yes, definitely we have to do something. I think budget time is coming up. Now that we know that the grant was turned down, there's nothing stopping us from putting it in the budget and having that accessible park done next year, if council wishes to go that route after the discussion in the budget. I just feel that this dog park was created by a bunch of volunteers who put all their hard work into it. And I'm not saying we name it after them, but I'm not sure if Councillor Saucier had discussions with them to see how they feel about this, because they invested their time and their effort in creating this beautiful dog park. And Jonathan was an incredible young man, but I don't believe he ever went there himself with Gibson. So I'm just I'm having a hard time finding the link between the two. But you know, if this is the direction council wishes to go, then so be it. But personally, I feel that if we're going to name something after Jonathan, it'll probably be once. I don't think we're going to be rededicating something else in the future. That's my thoughts. Conseiller Larrain?
Thanks for that, Mr. Mayor. So my thought is, you know, I absolutely want something named after him, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you go back in your text messages, Mr. Mayor, I believe the minute that I found out that he had passed, I had sent you a text and said we have to do something for him, and it has been almost 3 years. I think whatever we do decide, and whether it's at the budget time, then if we decide that it's going to be a park, or we decide that it's going to be one of the arenas that go in, that when we put in the rec complex or whatever phased in arena or whatever that may look like, that we immediately look at putting up a billboard similar to the one that's out front of the dome, where it says future. I mean, I think at the beginning it said future site of the Russell Sports Dome, that I think we put up something that says future site of the Jonathan Peter Arena or Jonathan Peter Accessible Park or something to that effect to show that we are committed to putting it up and dedicating it to that wonderful young man. So I think it's time to do it in this budget in 2021. Have that discussion in 3 weeks, I think it is, and finally make a decision on it. Does it make sense to do it tonight as the dog park and totally shut that out? No, I think it should be a discussion at the budget. So I agree with you on that. Let's do it then, and let's make sure that when we do it, that we do it right, and we make sure that we announce it to the world.
Okay. Thank you very much. Conseiller Brisson and Councillor Tarnowski.
Yeah, because I think if I recall properly, it's about 6 months ago that the CEO did ask that if we had any comment or suggestion, I would say, that he was passing it through, and I think it should be discussed at the budget. But that's why I'm saying a bit like you are, Councillor Laurent, that we might rush it for this, but we might have some other option that the CEO had worked on it, whether it's a statue, whether it's something else, but that we should have one thing and that it's be done this year. But maybe since we had already that process on with the CEO, that it just be making sure that it's coming in right away, but that taking the other process instead of accepting this motion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Conseiller Brisson. And to be fair, yes, Council had given the direction that we would be sending information to Monsieur Leduc, and he would be bringing a report back to Council. But let's be honest, with COVID-19, that report was put to the side because there was a pandemic to deal with. From an operational standpoint, it essentially hit pause on everything else, or a good chunk of the administration. So that's why the report hasn't come back yet. But I think there's nothing preventing, if this motion is deferred, for example, past the budget, there's nothing stopping it from coming back. It's just, Councillor Tarnowski, Councillor Saucier, perhaps afterwards you want to specify, do you really want to vote on this tonight, or you're willing to have discussions at a later point? So I'll let it for Councillor Tarnowski.
So it's interesting because we were getting a feeling that this park was not going to happen anytime soon. And so if there is a will from council, and it sounds like there is some interest there to move this forward, I certainly wouldn't mind deferring this till our budget discussions. And if we can commit to getting a park actioned, and we can start, and I really like Councillor Laurent's idea. If, let's say, we do commit to having some money aside for a park, and put up a sign right away saying, future site of this park. I would be in favor of that, and I think to defer this for a couple of weeks to get that, I think it's not a bad idea. I'll leave it to Councillor Saucier to kind of discuss. Not a bad option.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, well, for one thing, the dog park is, I know there was a wonderful group of volunteers that did work on that, but it is the Russell Township Dog Park, and we maintain it. So that was, and I'm pretty sure that Tina had said they had gone to the dog park, but that was just something that I thought was affordable. It was something that his dog is still living, and his dog, took care of Jonathan. So that's why I combined the two. I had sent probably a half a dozen ideas, and I did meet with the CAO to discuss this also, and he was supportive of it. So that's why I brought, and like I say, and also I spoke to Tina and she was very happy about something being done. I don't think we're rushing it by waiting 3 years. I think it's long overdue, and you know, other communities have honored Jonathan, and he was our boy. Like I said, he lived here, he went to school here, and I just think it's time we do something. So that's why I thought this was something that was could easily be done. But I'm willing to discuss it further at the budget sessions. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
So if I can make a suggestion then, how about we defer this with the specific date of the first meeting in November? That way council will have had the budget discussions and we will know where the direction council is going during that budget discussion. And if Councillor Saucier and Councillor Tarnowski feel that they still want to have this on the table, well, it'll be on the table in the first meeting in November, and we can make that call then. Is that acceptable?
That's great.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to defer it to the first meeting in November. So moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Saucier. You're okay with that? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All those in favor to defer it?
Mike Tarnowski, yes.
André, oui.
Sorry, Councillor Larin.
Sorry, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Perfect. So thank you very much, everyone. So this one is now moved to, it will be, well, be discussed as part of budget, but then it will come back to the table on in November. I believe there was a, before we get too far, there was a question that popped in at one point, and we'll try and address it now. It was from Mr. Charles Armstrong, 85 Castlebull, in regards to item 11D. Question 1, does this situation occur elsewhere in the township? Should parking be restricted on similar streets? And question 2, should the standard roadway be adjusted wider or parking spaces requirements be increased in the future? Madame Bordeaux, Madame Tremblay, I believe these are two items that definitely are being discussed internally.
Yes, they've been discussed, and yes, it does take place elsewhere in the municipality where we have issues with such parking problems.
When there is issues though, obviously you come to council and you seek a similar direction, I would assume.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen everywhere in the township. It seems to be more of a hit and miss. I think the majority is that it's not happening, it's not becoming an issue. But it definitely, in regards to question 2, should the standard roadway be adjusted wider? That'll be part of the discussions when we get into our official plan, if that's something we want to impose in our subdivisions. Or it'll come through, that'll be discussions that the administration, if they feel it needs to be brought up sooner, they'll bring it up sooner for consideration. Is that correct, Madame Tremblay?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect.
Wait, I just want to mention for the number of units, for example, it was higher before, and we've reduced it in the new zoning bylaw back in 2018.
Okay.
It was a request from council back then and from the developer as well. So yes, it will come back when we'll have to review, but yeah, we'll have to have discussion about the requirements for minimum parking per unit.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a comment, not a question, so we'll just dismiss that one. We'll move on to the next items. Item 16, bylaws. Motion that council approves bylaws 2020-097, 2020-115, and 2020-116 inclusively for first, second. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 15. Yeah, 15. We'll have to clarify the numbers because there was two numbers to clarify: 219 and 267.
Yeah, but before that, we have item 15C. recommendations listed under number 11. Motion that council approves all the recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, reports from departments and council committees. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor?
Mike Chernosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Sauce, yes.
Recommendations are carried. In regards to the bylaws, do we have an answer in regards to the points raised by Conseiller Brisson, either Madame Camille Laflamme or Madame Tremblay?
Yes, we do. So just to reassure members of council that the addresses are only in the footer of the bylaw, but the bylaw is accurate. And if the footer of the bylaw needs to be changed, then one should be 219 and 217 instead of the twice 219. And the other one should be 269 instead of 268. But like I said, it's the legal description that is the most important, and the bylaw is accurate. And there's no addresses in the bylaw. It's only in the footer of the bylaw.
OK, parfait.
Dans le bar-là, s'il y a les numéros. Excuse, là.
Pas les adresses.
Oui, c'est l'adresse civique qui est marquée dans le bar-là. Règlement, là.
Ben,
Dans
pas dans le
20,
règlement.
OK,
No.
hold on,
Okay.
everybody. Let's go to the clerk for clarification. Madame Camille Laflamme?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So Ms. Tremblay is correct. In the bylaw, it's only, those numbers are in the footer only.
Okay.
Okay, so not in the actual bylaw itself.
Correct. So can we just confirm, Ms. Tremblay? So the first one instead of 219 is 217, and the other one changes to 269. What is the number?
So the first footer, it says 219 twice.
Okay.
It should be 219 and 217
Okay. So we'll
instead of
put
219 twice.
Okay.
And then the other one, it should be 269 instead of 268.
So if we say all correct, then it would be 217, 219, 263, 265, 267, 269, 292, and 294. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So,
So-
Mr. Mayor, we can amend the footer. There's no problem on that when we sign tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. So the bylaws will be fine. So in that case, motion that council approves bylaws 2020-97, 2020-115, and 2020-116 inclusively for a first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. All those in favor?
Mike Chernosky, oui.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Sauce, yes.
Bylaws are carried. Item 17, new business reports, we have none. Item 18, other business presented by council members. Item A, Conseiller Lorrain, in regards to the Russell incident.
Yes, so, I mean, I think everyone's been seeing media reports and getting emails from residents and whatnot about what the township is doing or what council is doing in support of this or in trying to bring awareness, racism awareness to the community. And I just wanted to know what if anything can be done or what are we doing from that perspective so that we can actually, or what are we allowed to do under our purview? You know, I have people asking me, you know, almost daily about it. So I just don't know what, I mean, to be honest, I'm only knowledgeable about what has been presented to me by you, Mr. Mayor, and what I've read in the newspapers, and I say newspapers and the internet and TV, but in the news reports. So, I mean, I haven't reached out to the family. I don't know the family. I haven't reached out to the OPP. I haven't done anything like that. But people are asking, "What are you doing?" Like, is it something that we can request that the OPP go to all the schools and put an awareness session on like a community, their community support person, or is there something that we can do from that perspective, or is it completely out of our hands?
Okay, thank you very much, Conseiller Lorrain. So I can tell you that the family has been in touch with the OPP. They are having those important discussions. In regards to what the township can do, well, 2 weeks ago, we approved our new diversity, equity and inclusion committee. And part of their first step is to work on a terms of reference, a mandate, and it has to have an educational component to it. So I can confirm that we have picked a date where our first virtual meeting should be happening in a couple of weeks. We're just waiting for the IT side of things because they have to get township emails to be so they can be members of the meeting as opposed to just watching it from the outside. But yeah, no, our first meeting should be scheduled in a couple of weeks from now, and we're going to start having those discussions. And I mean, honestly, that was the whole point of creating this committee, right? So they can make recommendations to council on how we can help improve the situation in our community. I know that I've been talking with a principal of a school. You know, they're having conversations. They're looking at improving their education. You know, they've done a fabulous job on indigenous issues, but they haven't necessarily looked at the anti-Black racism. So there's something they have to work on there. I think the township is a stakeholder. You know, we're a piece of the puzzle in this project. I don't think we're necessarily the lead, but we can help to coordinate things, and that's what I've tried to do in the last week or so. But I have had discussions with the OPP. I've had discussions with both families involved. You know, it's a healing process right now, and as a community, I think if you go on social media, the community itself is coming together and presenting, you know, options, ideas, that kind of stuff. So once the committee has a approved terms of reference from council, I think that they'll be able to have those conversations with the community so they can bring recommendations to us. Councillor Tarnowski and then Councillor Saucier.
So in addition to that, I just wanted to say that that the library board and the team at the library, I'm really proud of some ideas that came out from our library board to start working towards doing some education around racism and trying to get some sort of professional speaker in where we can open it to the community, to the schools, to the local schools, so that there can be a resource that we can learn from this and learn how to perhaps talk to our children about it, how to address it, and so on. So it falls beautifully in the mandate of the library, in our mission, on the education piece, and so our library board has initiated that. Furthermore, I think I'm really proud of the library team as well, with guidance from our mayor on kind of being kind of a central drop-off area for get well wishes for the people that suffered through this incident. And I think there's been some very good uptake on that, and so that's at least we've started working on something. And anyway, so I just wanted to mention that we're very proud of everybody on the library side for what they're doing there.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, well, Councillor Tarnowski touched on a lot of what I was just going to announce, but they're also have put out a number of books on race and bullying and things like that. So they've got them on display on their page, their Facebook page. So they're, you know, hoping that parents will pick up some of these books and start the discussion at home. So we're added that as well. And I agree with Mike on the great job that the library's been doing to get on board with this. So yeah, you can drop off your letter or your card and in the slot, and they will be delivered to the family.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Saucier. I'm not sure if that fully addressed what you're looking for, Councillor Lorraine.
I guess at this point it does. You know, I mean, like I said, I think everyone's getting emails on it or phone calls or whatever. So, you know, you hear that there's things that we need to be doing, and I'm unclear as to what those things are. Yeah. So that's, you know, I mean, if you say, you know, everyone's being engaged, everyone's being, you know, like the OPP, the families have been engaged, the school boards have been engaged, then library board and the libraries are engaged, then that's fantastic. We've got our committee coming out with hopefully they'll be able to jump in and put some recommendations in sooner rather than later. Then, you know, I guess that's what we can do. But I wanted to be clear on that and that we all understood that that's what we can do, because I didn't want somebody else, again, on council doing something and we don't know about it, right? So I wanted to make sure that that was the case, that we were all on the same page in terms of what we can and can't do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item, item B, was Councillor Alain for Route 200 and Edie Road.
Yeah, I think all members of council seen some emails that have been coming out on Route 200. I guess there was an accident there a few weeks ago. Pretty serious, somewhat serious from what I'm told. Many close calls at that location. You know, for me, I know driving that road quite frequently that it's coming from Burton Road. It's blind on that one on the left-hand side, so coming from the Embrum Way, or I guess coming from the east going west, because there's a big hedge on the corner lot. So if somebody decides that they're going to go right through that stop sign, then it is completely blind to the people going the other way. You know, I mean, I would then fully support a stop sign at that location to slow down that traffic going north south, and to at least protect them against any traffic that decides to either go or blow the stop sign. So I think I had a discussion with Mr. Bourgon, and I think he might have some information on that location as well. Yeah,
go ahead, Monsieur Bourgon, some thoughts?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. So we in order to recommend to council to install a four-way stop or not, there's a few items that we need to validate. We're currently updating our traffic counts at that intersection. We'll need to look at the history of collision and also look at the line of sight coming from all direction. So we'll be doing that review in the next few weeks in order to bring to council a recommendation in order to improve the safety at that intersection.
Okay, perfect. Well, you know, I look forward to that report. Anything else to add for members of council? That's why we have our administration. So thank you very much, Monsieur Bourgon, for looking at that, and we look forward to seeing the report. Next item was item C. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but Councillor Alain for the Russell Trails.
Yeah, no, it's great that we'll get notification as soon as those signs are up. I think the families along there, and the fact that there's 3 bus stops on that street for the kids in the morning and in the afternoon, I think will be great to ensure that the safety of all the residents in that area. It's a connection right to the pond, and then right at the end of Junction, there's also a connection to the bike path. So I think it's important if we can deviate the big trucks off that street, that we do it as soon as possible. So I think it's great that that's going to come out. One thing I did want to add, though, because of the information that came in the report, is then with the petition that was handed to all of us a few months back, the one that I emailed to everybody and put in your cabinets. There was also a request for a 3-way stop at the corner of, I believe it is York Crossing and Central Park. So coming out of the Sunset Flats subdivision and coming into the Russell Trails subdivision. So right there, there's York Crossing ends right there, and it's just a stop on York Crossing. But there's no stop from Edie Road all the way through Central Park. So what happens is kids just zoom right through, and there's nothing to stop them. So I think we should have a stop somewhere along that way, and that to me makes sense, whether it's there or at Junction. If we want to make Junction the stop point to allow people to go across the street to the pond and walk around the pond, maybe that makes more sense. But can we have maybe administration look at that and maybe come back to us after budget with a recommendation? Because to me, there needs to be some sort of a slowing mechanism in that area, because there's nothing from Edie Road to north to all the way through the subdivision through Sunset Trails. So
concession, yeah.
Thank you, Conseiller Lorrain. If I remember well, Monsieur Bourgon, the traffic calming policy that was recommended or approved by council doesn't recommend stop signs as a traffic slowdown, but is it possible for you to have a look at that area? I know in our strategic plan, we do have a pedestrian safety component. I know we've had discussions in regards to community safety zones. That was something that I'm bringing up again at our budget sessions in a few weeks. So perhaps we can have those discussions at budget time as well and see. Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, and I mean I know that the speed signs have been out on that street a few times. So that was the first part of the whole thing. But I think we need to do more, especially for that area with all the houses and all the kids. You know, someone's going to get seriously hurt, and I'd hate for it to be because we didn't put something there. So
thank you very much. So Monsieur Bourgon will have further discussions at budget time, and so you can start having a look at that area as well. Everybody's okay with that? Okay, perfect. Item D, Councillor Saucier for the SNC art auction.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that SNC is hosting an online art auction called Art for Trees. It's local artists, many from the Russell Embrun area. So there's painters and photographers and various woodworkers and different media. So it's to raise funds. All proceeds from the sale of the art auction will be going to planting trees in our jurisdiction. So they're hoping to next year to plant 200,000 trees. And so it's beautiful art. Have a look. I encourage you to bid on one of our local artists, and hopefully it's the whole month of October, and it is online, and there's and on Facebook. So South Nation's Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Saucier. Next item, 19, public consultations. We have none. Closed session, we have none this evening. Item 21, confirming bylaw. That bylaw
2020-117, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. 117 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Russell, at its regular council meeting held on October 5th, 2020. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, second by Conseiller Brisson. All those in favor?
Mike Tarnowski, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Perfect. Thank you. It's approved. The next regular meeting, public meeting of council will be held on Monday, October 19th, 2020. And we are adjourned at 7:35 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Have yourselves a fantastic evening.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.